Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another movie review. This is the next Marvel film, Thor: Love and Thunder, which is technically Thor 4, coming off of Thor Ragnarok and coming off of Endgame. The last time we saw Thor in Endgame, he was a little bit more heavy set. He lost everything, but Asgard did make itself home on Earth, and he decided to go and travel along with the Guardians of the Galaxy, which brings him to the point in this film where he's trying to rediscover who he is, not just as a god, but what he really wants as an individual. So, me and Lucas, we're about to tackle this review. This is going to be non-spoiler. We may do a spoiler review a little bit later on if it requires. But what's going on, Lucas?
I mean, I think about this movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
One, I'm doing great. It's understand here. Like, we saw this movie, and we're gonna be very transparent with you all because you all saw the video we posted already of us leaving Thor. So we saw this movie growing on a week ago at this point. We're recording on July 4th. So lots of libations. And then I had to stop them to sit and talk to you all about Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm just gonna say let's get into this review because this is gonna be a fun review for this movie. I think it's gonna be really, really fun, really exciting. Yay!
I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. We're gonna see what we come up with. Okay, where do we start with this?
I
So as far as
so negatively,
I'm trying to.
the sigh was the most negative sign you've ever had.
I'm trying.
Do
So
you
I
need
think
me to, do you need me to set this up?
no. So I think this is where I'm at with this.
Mhm.
This past year or 2 years, technically, we've had a lot of Marvel shows. Like right now, we're currently in Miss Marvel. They're about to move over to She-Hulk.
No. Mhm.
Um, and then as far as Phase 4, as far as the films, honestly, they've been very lackluster. I have not really liked
Besides No Way
any
Home,
of them outside of Shang-Chi, and I don't know if we can even count No Way Home.
it's
Um,
it's a Sony production, but it is technically in Marvel's Phase 4.
yeah. So, but everything else outside it, I haven't really gravitated towards. And so with this film, I was kind of like, okay, this could be, really interesting. You got just off of the cast alone, I was like, oh, okay, you got Tessa Thompson back. You got Christian Bale going to be the main villain in Gore. And this is before I saw the first trailer, now for context. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be really interesting. Like, are they going to go the same route as Ragnarok? Are they going to make this kind of serious? What are they going to do with it? Then I see the first trailer, and the trailer, it lowered all expectations I could have ever had, and I was like, I just need this to be okay, not good, not great, just okay and entertaining. And yeah, I'll say this about this trailer: the trailer is true to form. What the movie is for me is okay, entertaining at times. It I think this is the difference. Normally we go and watch the film and then we immediately go and talk about it. We process what we see and then we go through it. I've had a whole week. I've seen shows on top of shows. I've seen movies on top of movies. So I've been able to really truly digest how this movie makes me feel. And so this is very different review coming from me. So just for you guys to get context behind it. Go ahead, Lucas. Yeah.
Oh, look here. I am enjoying this because here's the thing about when we review films. At times, and this is not any form of disrespect to the way we review things. At times, I process things a little faster. So I may process it the moment I see it and I know what I saw. And if anything, my opinion may increase about a film, but it never decreases about a film. Sam, on the other hand, processes things, and his opinion of it will decrease as he thinks about it more and more. The more he puts on, and I hate this term, but the more he puts on his critic hat and he really breaks down exactly what he saw, if you leave him with more time to think about it, you'll get much closer to his true thoughts about the film. So, purposely, after we left Thor, I made sure we did not review this film. I'm like, nope, we're gonna wait because we have way too much other content going on, and I need him to really think about what he just saw. So I'm excited because this is going to be one of the few times where people get his upfront opinion about a film the first time they hear him talk about the film. So if we go just the first impressions of Thor, Love and Thunder, I think I said it on our live when we left the theaters. I am confused. What was the point of making this movie? To this day, as the days have gone past, it is literally still no purpose that this movie was ever made besides to push Thor. And you kind of left wondering, as Sam said, especially with phase 4, especially as it pertains to the movies. Does Marvel not understand what to do without Thanos being the big threat? Are they lost at this point without him being the big threat? And are they good at building another big threat for audiences? And right now, after Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, No Way Home, which actually leads to absolutely nothing. In the mouth of Multiverse Madness, or whatever the hell the name of that horrible Doctor Strange movie is. And then here, now you're led with wondering, what's the point of phase 4? And I think for people like Sam, that's where the confusion is now. Is what's the point of phase 4? Besides the shows, which to me are the bright spot of phase 4.
That's a fact.
Like,
I agree.
what is it that Marvel's giving you to make you look forward to anything? Is it Black Captain America? Is that all we have now to care about? Because Doctor Strange was a 2-hour season finale of WandaVision. So I don't need to hear that anymore.
Yep.
Like, and you've just neglected, I think, all the goodwill you built in Loki. So what's next? And I think that's where Sam is confused at. Again, my first thoughts of this film are, what was the point of it? That's all I could think of as we left the theater. I said it. And as we talk about this review, because this is non-spoiler, we can't get into things that we talked about immediately following this review, that I asked questions that people who are comic book people looked at me and could not answer. And it made it worse for me when they couldn't answer those very simple questions about things that Thor amazingly can do now that he has never been able to do in history. And it makes me question everything about this character everything in this character in the past and everything in this character moving forward. I understand I'm going off a little bit of rant, but I'm going to stop so I can let Sam give his first opinions of Thor, Love and Thunder.
Oh man. To piggyback on what Lucas just said, as far as a point to this, this kind of does feel like Black Widow in and of itself being like a standalone placement film. There is no point to it. They don't add on anything more to the MCU legacy. One thing that I've noticed with the shows and with the movies, they've been trying to include like youth to build up like certain things in the future, and they're trying to do certain things in this one, but this just feels like a consolidated story to just be fun, to be entertaining. So I asked a couple other people, they were like, yeah, it was a fun ride. I was like, are you gonna watch it again? Like, and so for me, it was like I was intrigued by one thing and one thing only. I wanted to know what they would do with a high caliber actor like Christian Bale, making him Gore the God Butcher. I knew him as a character, and I was like, I wanted to see how much screen time they give him. I wanted to see if they actually gave him an arc. Truth be told, the movie starts with him. It shows certain things, how it led up to how he got to be the way he did. I thought the beginning of that was pretty interesting. It was really engaging. It felt really different. And I felt the same exact way about Black Widow in the very beginning, and then it goes completely off the rails, unfortunately. And with this one, it is no different because what they start to do and they proceed to do is they give a montage with Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy. And this is the very first time. This is the first critical negative I can say about the film. When the Guardians of the Galaxy are on this, when they show up, not only are they not funny, they don't need to be there. If I was James Gunn, I would have said, you know what, can we just not bring my characters into this? Because they did not service the film at all, and it was not funny, and it made no sense. And I was like, it didn't feel like a money grab or anything like that, but it just didn't work. And I was like, this is a waste of time. Now, a bright spot. I do think that Natalie Portman showing up as the Mighty Thor, I thought that she was really intriguing. I wish they would have laid heavier into how she became the situation she was in, because I felt like she's got a good enough acting appeal to her that I believe, like, okay, I see these going through the motions. But unfortunately, like Marvel normally does, they try to sugarcoat stuff. They don't lean into the drama. They don't lean into the harshness of life necessarily. Where in a character like hers, they could have really lead into it. She could have been the focal point. Technically, in my opinion, the movie should have been about her. I don't think that Thor or Chris Hemsworth could have. He didn't even need to be in this film at all. It could have been just off of her. Her getting the understanding of what she needed to do, what she needed to be. And from that point, whether Thor is just gone and he shows up later on in the film or something like that, that would have been better than having him be the point center. She should have been the focal point. And I think, matter of fact, her facing off against Christian Bale's Gore the God Butcher would have added to the tone as well. But instead, what I feel like they wanted to do, they knew they wanted to recreate Ragnarok. They wanted to recreate the funniness and the entertainment. But instead, they make Chris Hemsworth's character, I'm going to say this nicely, they make him the comedic goofball. When really we've seen him be a little bit more deep. But that's one of the things I had an issue with Infinity War going into Endgame, is that they took this jokey turn for him where he's all bloated and depressed as opposed to really feeling anything. Versus in Infinity War, I feel like that was the raw Thor that I really truly enjoyed. And I was like, hopefully they lean into that. They don't. they try to add the jokes, the comedy. There's a scene, I kid you not. I'm sorry I'm ranting. I apologize. This is Lucas's fault. There's a scene. There's a scene with some children and Thor.
Oh, man, you can't talk about that, don't you?
I'm not gonna talk about it, but I'm saying that they make that scene that should have been a dramatically traumatic scene, and they make a joke out of it. And they technically do that with Christian Bale as well. But...
Okay, my bad. You're talking about the first act with the children.
Correct.
Yeah, oh my God.
Correct.
That was the worst I've ever seen happen. But go ahead.
So those are things where, like, as far as the overview, like, that is where I'm lost. What Lucas is talking about, the way that the third act of this ends, I almost quit even looking at any more Thor anything from what happens. And the actions that happen at the end, the third act of this, make absolutely no sense. And I'm kind of like, Thor, forget you. That's how I feel as a Marvel fan. That's not even as a critic. As a Marvel fan, what happens in the third act really is a line in the sand that doesn't make any bit of sense. Even though there's some things that don't line up, there's some plot holes here or there. But that was almost an unforgivable thing. But some of the things I liked, again, I did like Natalie Portman. I like what she brought to this. I love how she kind of leaned into it. She looked like she got into physical shape with it, which is very interesting. But unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go into a negative. Visually, I think the first Thor looked better than this.
Yeah,
I feel like this is splashed with a whole bunch of CG, and I still don't understand why there's so much CG in these phases, bro. Like, it looks bad. Like the CG does not look good, and it doesn't help that they're kind of like adding so much gold and extra colors. Like it just doesn't look good. It matter of fact, there was
80.
scenes, I don't know if you noticed it, Lucas. There were scenes when they were showing Chris Hemsworth's face and Natalie Portman's face, and it didn't look like makeup. It looked like CG
Yes,
to
all
make
over their
it
face.
DA.
It was equivalent face tuning that you see some of the people do online on social media platforms. It is horrible. You can start off with a joke, and the joke can be really, really good, and then you can run that joke in the ground. Thor Ragnarok started off with a more jokey type of Thor, and it worked for a lot in that film. At this point, it feels like you just ran it into the ground because I want to say, is it after Thor Ragnarok? We got the Thor from Infinity War?
Right. It is.
So it completely changed the projection of the character. Then you made him Fat Thor in Endgame, and you turned him right back into being a joke. And here, you double down on him being a joke. As you said, you literally said they could have made a Thor movie without Chris Hemsworth in it, and it would have been better. That's what I felt about this film. Natalie Portman, I think, as Thor, her storyline, I wish they would have focused on that storyline. That storyline is so interesting. For what she went through, for her becoming Thor, all of that is something that I feel if they would have focused only on that, you would have gotten a great movie. Instead, you back to interjecting Thor in it. We get Gore, the butcher that doesn't butcher, and you're wondering like you wasted Christian Bale in a complete movie. He's absolutely wasted in this movie. You could have got anyone to do this role at all. It wouldn't have mattered at all because at time you had Christian Bale as someone named the God Butcher making jokes. I need somebody to explain that to me. It makes no sense for this movie. No sense at all. It's bad enough to say this movie is pointless. It's more worse to say, what the hell were you thinking in this movie? And I understand some people are going to like that it has bright colors. You're going to overlook that it has horrible CGI. You're going to overlook that the plot makes absolutely no sense in this entire movie. You're also going to overlook a horrible third act that changes the projection of Thor, that changes the projection of the complete movie, that completely neuters your villain in the movie. You're going to overlook all of that because it looks bright. Come on, like we have to get to the point of questioning things. We got to get to the point of questioning why, as Sam said, the Guardians of the Galaxy was in this movie at all. Why was Russell Crowe in this movie at all? Not gonna say.
Oh my gosh, yo, Russell Crowe in this. He starts to have different. He has different accents. You guys,
4 different accents in this movie. 4 different, distinctly different accents in this movie. Like, have we not learned from the past that you don't get Russell Crowe to do accents? And he had 4 different ones for the same character in this movie. And it doesn't come across as a comedic moment. It comes across as a sad, depressing moment of someone who used to be a great actor who has now completely let himself go and is in a horrible role. Like, at this point, you have to question the thought process of this movie and wondering, why didn't you just say, we're going to do a Thor movie and it's going to strictly have the mighty Thor, which is Natalie Portman's character, in it only.
Right.
Because we're not going to have Chris Hemsworth in it at all. And I think you could have gotten a great movie if that was the case. Instead, we're forced with Thor playing the same role that Chris Hemsworth played in Ghostbusters. And you're forced to watch this. And it becomes a joke. You made a joke of what should be the most powerful person in MCU is now a joke. I don't care about Thor anymore. I don't want to see anything else with Thor anymore. You clearly set this movie up to set up a part 5 of Thor. I don't want to see this character anymore. No one needs to see this character anymore. And you can move on from it. No one cares about Thor anymore. And it's because you've done everything to neuter this character, to make him a joke of himself. And then you want to act like we should care about more of him? Like, come on, man. Leaving this movie, and this is coming from someone who was kind of a fan of Ragnarok, because I said, okay, this is a little different. And I like that you took this different approach. What Marvel has never been good at is when they give a director a second chance to make another movie. Those movies are normally worse than their first attempt. It shouldn't be this bad at all. You shouldn't. You have ruined any thought of Thor being a mighty character, a character that you would want to save the universe. At this point, I don't know if Thor could change a tire by himself. And that's the sad part of it all. That you've made him this big of a joke. And I understand Chris Hemsworth has perfect, and this is not a slight, he has perfect comedic timing. He's an amazing comedic actor.
Yeah.
But do you want Thor to be the character that he portrays his amazing comedic timing with, when you're making everything he does a joke? Even when we get to the point of him fighting the big bad, it comes across as a joke. So, okay, who cares what Thor does here? Because it's going to be a joke. Along with something else that happens in this third act that, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, even Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson, is a joke in this movie. They made her a joke in this movie after she really played the straight man in Ragnarok. It's like Taika decided to double down on a humor in Ragnarok. Like, no, that's not what you need to do here. In all honesty, most people wanted a transition where you have someone named the God Butcher in the movie, so you're expecting a more serious approach. The first 5 minutes of this movie are great. Damn it if the setup ain't good for what you expect to see from the God Butcher, what you're going to expect to see from this movie. And then it's like, as Sam said with Black Widow, they say, oh, yeah, that don't exist. Let's change everything. And that's what they did here. Again, the moment he started making jokes as the God Butcher, I said, yep, I'm done. Nope. Not going to invest in this at all.
Yeah.
This is the worst performance by Christian Bale ever. And I'm including Harsh Times, which he was not good in.
Oh, no.
This is the worst. This is the worst performance from Christian Bale ever.
I think the way I'm gonna have to give it to Taika. The way that Taika directed him to play this, I would have took a different approach with the character, because the beginning of his character was so strong, and then what they do, they pivot, and we don't see him for a good amount of the film. So a lot of the harsh things that they're doing or he's doing, they use exposition to explain what he's done. And whenever you use exposition to explain something, you've already lost that connective tissue. And so it's like when you get to the scenes where we're assuming all the harsh things he's done, and he's acting as though like he's the big bad, but we haven't really seen it, so it doesn't feel earned. So I think that's where there's an inconsistency there. But as far as the scenes that I liked with him, some of the scenes that I actually really liked in this movie came from him, but that's just because he's a good actor. But then there are some scenes that I did not like from him. As far as my thoughts with Tessa, it's weird because she tries to still keep that same demeanor. I could tell she's trying to act over where she is being directed to do. But it just does not come across as strong of a character, as strong of a role. And that's not to say the character isn't strong. Like, they do a lot of things with Tessa Thompson's character in this one. It shows that she has a lot of power in terms of like being the leader of Asgard. Like, that was one of the things I forgot about. Like, she's overseeing Asgard. Mm-hmm. But the moment that Thor shows up, the moment that Chris Hemsworth's character shows up, it offsets everything in the film. It's so weird to say, But I really just wish they would have focused in on Natalie Portman's journey with this. That honestly, no, I can't even say it. I'd say that for a spoiler review. I send it to Lucas in the chat. But yeah, so the thing I will say from an entertainment standpoint, if you guys do want to have some humor there, and some entertainment, there are some like you got these random goats every 5 seconds are just screaming out of nowhere. I was chuckling up. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was laughing a good amount of the time. Korg is in this one. He's not as funny as he was in Ragnarok. I think Taika actually voices that character.
Yep.
But they do give him some really interesting things to talk about or talk around. He's kind of like the voice of reason sometimes. Um, I don't know. It's weird because normally I would say the visual effects are great. I would normally say the score is great. And I can't.
None of it is good. You can say it. None of it is good in this movie.
And the story is off. It's off. And I don't like the tone of the film. I don't like the tone of the film at all. It's not even that it doesn't know what it is. He knows exactly what the kind of tone he wanted for this, but it just doesn't. It doesn't fit for this. And again, there's one big thing that we're keeping out of all this discussion, which is the third act. They do something in the middle and third act. When there's a face off that happens with gore and another face off later on. Both of those things led me to believe, like, wait. Hold up, homie. You could have done this? What? No. So it kind of, I think if those two moments hadn't have happened, maybe it could have been like, you know what? It was entertaining. Like, this is okay. I could have been like, oh, okay, well, you're setting up something else for another character. Okay, whatever. But these two specific moments, it changes your perception of the character. And I think that in a Marvel film where it's really just for the youth, like these movies aren't even for me and Lucas anymore. It's for entertainment value for you guys, for the kids. But I have to make sense. And when you realize what the character did, you kind of like, you question.
Can I ask you? Because I said it after we watched the movie. And I'll share that part with you all. Thor does something, and I asked a group of critics. I said, okay, if he can do this, and they didn't say this was something new that he learned, and that he could damn near always do, why didn't he do this in Infinity War or Endgame? Or any time when something of this nature would have had a bigger impact? And at first, people were trying to give me excuses. And then they said, wait a minute. No, you're right. Like, why didn't he do this before? It ruins everything in the movie at that point. And I told them, I said, you know what? At that point, I was taken completely out of this film. And again, this is someone who I like Thor Ragnarok. To me, it's something that, and unlike a lot of people who only saw it once and did not want to see it again, I've seen Thor Ragnarok a couple of times and thought, it's a delightful little thing. It's not the best movie, far from it, but it has enough moments anyway I could watch it. And here, if this felt like they doubled down on them, and that's the worst thing you can do. Like this, the Rock guy, I didn't need to see more of him. Because he worked in a limited role in the last movie, don't mean I need to see more of him. He can go away now. He's unnecessary. And because you wanted to double down, you made it worse that he was even included this much in this movie. And I was wondering, in all honesty, like, why didn't we get more of the characters from Thor 1? Literally, they don't even exist anymore.
Oh, no, they did. They did. They literally did.
Because remember, one of them is in this movie. It literally sparks why Thor was doing what he was doing. So you wonder, why the hell don't I see more of these people? Like, instead, I get this rock creature because he was funny in the last movie, and you're going to give him a lead role in this? Come on, man. Like, I understand lots of people did not have great expectations for this movie. because I have not met anyone who thought Thor: Love and Thunder would be a great movie. So the bar was already low, and you still came under it. Like I have questions about the decisions with this character. I would love to see somebody. Granted, we're going to get all you got to do is see this movie. You're gonna get a fifth Thor at this point. I just need him to revert back to the guy in Infinity War. That was the perfect balance of what makes Thor Thor.
Yep.
And these last couple of movies where you've made him a complete joke, you got to change those. Because other than that, who would care about this character? He's the elder statesman of the MCU at this point for the main heroes.
Isn't he gonna show up in Guardians?
If it's as pointless as the Guardians were in this movie, I don't need to see Thor.
So that's what I was wondering, because James is James ain't gonna sit there and just I don't know. I don't know. That's gonna be interesting.
Maybe you got more faith that James ain't gonna put him in there to be absolutely pointless.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
the way they made the Guardians absolutely pointless in this movie.
Right. That's
right, hopefully you would think that James would know better and be like, nah, I'm not gonna do it if I don't really need him to be in this movie.
Right. We'll see. But yeah, man, I'll say this, you guys. It is very hard for me to find some positives about this film after going through. I think that from a popcorn movie standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint, there's enough comedic moments. Not all of them land. I'll say this: 20% of them land pretty well. The rest do not. From an entertainment action standpoint, there's some good set piece things that are happening, but it's far from the best choreography, far from best VFX. The score was okay, sound mixing was okay, acting from everybody was not that good. But yeah, man. Oh man, we should have immediately reviewed this right after.
Nope, that's what we didn't. You came up and gave a way more. You would have given the I'm not fully understanding this movie yet, so I'm gonna give a review that doesn't reflect that fully. This is the worst movie of Phase 4, hands down. Hands down, this is the worst movie of Phase 4. At this point, I'm going to almost say this is the worst project of Phase 4. At every project, whether it be television shows, whether it be movies, Thor: Love and Thunder is the worst of them all. And that says a lot because Eternals is far from good. And I know my thoughts of Doctor Strange and his madness of multiverses of WandaVision, which I didn't think was good in any one stretch and was full of diversity hires. But here in Thor: Love and Thunder, this is the worst project of Phase 4. And that's great for Thor. Thor now has the worst project of Phase 2 and the worst project of Phase 4. Like, he's on a heck of a streak here. He would have the worst project of Phase 1 if it wasn't for Iron Man 2.
Hey, look. I'm gonna still give the worst being to Black Widow, because I still say to this day that movie.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
You say that for Black Widow for his third act, right?
No,
third
I
act
mean
Black
just
Widow is
the weird thing about Black Widow is that it should have never came out when it came out. The timing for Black Widow didn't make sense.
Here's the weird part: Black Widow is more important to Phase 4 than Thor is. You can't even come close.
So this is the weird thing. I give them, I'll put it like this: they're a tie, because there's we can't talk about it, but they do include a character that potentially is important later on, and I think that both of the movies did the same exact thing.
Not in Phase 4.
Well, yeah. Well, not for Phase 4.
I literally said Thor: Love and Thunder is the worst film of Phase 4. In Phase 4, Black Widow, even though a lot of people clown it because they say it released too late, The thing about Black Widow is, though, as a film, the performances are better than anything you get in Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor: Love and Thunder. The story is better than anything you get in Thor: Love and Thunder. And the importance of those characters for Phase 4 is better than anything you get in Love and Thunder. You can't even fight it. Even granted, I am not a huge fan of Black Widow, but I can overly admit, like, oh, Scarlett Johansson acts better in that movie than anyone does in this one. It's not even close. Matter of fact, the best 3 performances in Black Widow are better than any performance in Thor.
Anywho,
that's the problem.
What are we? What are we rating?
Oh no, you're starting first, my brother. What, Sam? What is your thoughts, ratings of Thor: Love and Thunder, A through F? What are your ratings for this film?
Look, I'm gonna do this. If I look at this picture, and if I look long enough, I don't see the ominous yellow eyes. I see this poorly done helmet,
Power Ranger mask that he has on.
And it just keeps lowering my number. Okay, it's a D. It's a D. I want to give it a C minus so bad, but it's a D to D plus. Okay. I really thought that Christian Bale in this role could have been something very special. I think that the framework for it could have been really tight if they would have leaned into another character that has also tragic backstory, and that is the Mighty Thor. If this was a mighty, matter of fact, they just named this Mighty Thor, and Thor and Chris Hemsworth was, I ain't gonna say his character dead, but he just wasn't there. And it was just about Natalie Portman's character discovering what it means to be Thor, discovering what it means to try to live as a hero, to have another character to equally be as broken, but is trying to destroy all gods, right? And she had just becoming that. That would have been a very interesting arc. And I think it would have been a far superior film. But the fact that the main character could have been removed from that, I can't fight that, unfortunately, you guys. I'm sorry. Anyway, what do you rate it, Lucas? I hope you're enjoying all this.
Oh man, yeah,
37 minutes.
Yeah, look at Thor: Love and Thunder again. Out of our scale, a D. In all honesty, like I want to say an F. I literally want to go lower and say an F. Matter of fact, yes, an F. I'm not gonna lie about it. I can't find anything positive about this. I love Natalie Portman, but the point that you limited that character, that story arc so much, I can't give you credit for anything else. You ruined a great opportunity. And it makes no sense that you did it. You put this character through something, and then you literally made a joke of what the character was going through. At that point, I can't give you anything positive for that. Like it made no sense to do it. And then the fake love story you tried to build. I've never seen 2 characters with no chemistry before, but Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman have absolutely no chemistry with one another. It comes across as cousins trying to act like they're romantically involved, or sister and brother trying to act like they're romantically involved. It makes no fucking sense. It is hard. I didn't mean to say fucking, but it just makes no sense. It is horrible. It is something that should never have happened. And for that reason alone, like, again, I would love to say D, because that's what I thought at first. But it's a complete failure to me. Like, this is the worst movie of this phase. It makes no sense that this movie was made. And it's coming close to me to coming close to Thor 2 of how I feel about the film. Because in the end, I had things not positive to say about Doctor Strange and not positive to say about Eternals. I would watch both of those movies before I ever sit through this movie again.
I normally you guys I could try to fight him on it, but I really can't. The longer again, I've been looking at way too many other things since I've last seen that, and I've had time to process. And for me, the more time I get, the more I analyze, the more I think about, the more I want to either one immediately go and jump back into something, or I
Mm-hmm.
don't. And unfortunately, I don't. Um, yeah, yeah. Where's Eternals at? Let me put that on real quick.
Exactly. Like
That's kind of how I
you,
feel,
you
unfortunately.
you you really have to question just the direction, the point of this film. And I know beforehand lots of people were questioning why we getting a Thor movie. Keep in mind, it's a key element to why this movie is called Thor Love and Thunder. And that sticks in my mind of why I hate this movie so much. Because that is something we can't talk about. And I literally told Sam, like, this may be the only movie I will be willing to do a spoiler review about. Because I want to talk more about the stupidity of this movie
Oh
and the
my
choices that are made. Like,
God.
at this point, I just need them to understand that this character means a lot to people and not make him a joke anymore. It's cool that we have Chris Hemsworth again with amazing comedic timing. I would love to see Thor 5 being done and possibly the Russo brothers directed.
That would be
Maybe
interesting.
they'll give you a complete, maybe they'll give you closer to the Thor you got in Infinity War that had the perfect balance of humor and seriousness that makes Thor Thor. Instead, you get Weekend at Bernie's starring Thor, and it's horrible.
Well, that's really all I have. Normally, I would have something. I feel bad. I don't have anything to give you guys on the positive.
Hey, we said the good positive part. Natalie Portman's character in this film should have been the lead. She should have been the only Thor in this movie.
Yep. Yep.
And it's it's so many Thors in this movie. And I wanted to talk about that even more, but we can't talk about it yet. Let's just say Natalie Portman should have been the only one as Thor in this movie, the only one with Thor's powers in this movie. She should have been the only character you cared about as a lead in this movie. Her story in this movie is great, but they make too much of a joke out of it, and then they don't spend enough time playing it out. Where, as an audience, you can get ingrained into that character and enjoy everything about that character because it's a tragic, beautiful story there. And instead, you get Chris Hemsworth joking it up as much as humanly possible.
And you have a love triangle between Thor, Natalie Portman, and Stormbreaker. And yes, Stormbreaker I'm talking about is freaking
Oh
ass.
no, 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 not Thor Natalie Portman. It's Thor Mordor and Stormbreaker.
Storm. Well, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the romantic triangle in this film.
yeah. And
And it was funny the first time, and boy, did it just drag on, and you were like, "Oh my god, really?
yeah,
Like, come
I
on,
don't
man."
know what was going on with Mjolnir, but oh yeah, yeah. When Natalie Portman was using Mjolnir, it was some cool stuff there.
Exactly. Natalie Portman is the best part of this. Like, if I was to increase my score a little bit, it would strictly be because Natalie Portman is really good in this film, but it's equivalent to an actress who does good with shitty material. That's how she is in this film. And
So,
you want to award the actor for what they do, but in saying that, I would have to say the film is better, and it's not. Still bad. It's still really, really bad. It's just that you can see the promise in what she does in this movie.
yeah.
And I didn't expect to leave this movie thinking it would be the female Thor, which I felt at times just felt like a grab at diversity. Like,
Mhm.
and then coming out of it, you wonder why didn't we get more of her?
Yeah, yeah.
And screw anybody, because there were critics out there. That I read your early reviews, and you were comparing Christian Bale to some of the best villains that Marvel has ever had, and some of the best villains in movie comic book history. I don't know what movie you saw, but stop lying to these people and start telling them the truth. When you see a movie and you waste someone, just say it. Say, hey, man, y'all wasted Christian Bale in this movie. Completely. He needs to not. If this is what Marvel was going to give him, he should have stayed somewhere else. But it definitely is not for this movie.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Because Richard Grieco was available to play Thor the God Butcher. I'm pretty sure of it. Johnny Depp was available. I'm just trying to name actors below Christian Bale who could have played this role, and you could have got the same performance from.
Yeah, it's really strange because even with the physicality, because they splash so much CG, they don't even really allow him to be physical either. Anyway, we're done talking about it. Let us know what you guys think once you checked it out. Did this turn you off from watching? I know a lot of you guys gave us really interesting feedback. I appreciate you guys' likes and not dislikes on our honest commentary for our first reaction. Thank you guys for coming back and checking out our full review now. And we've got a lot more content coming, a lot of show content coming.
Thor Dark World, because we're going to do that. I'm going to force Sam to watch Thor Dark World with me in a Twitch live stream. I said that, I think, on our last Marvel review, that I wanted to sit back and rewatch Thor Dark World, because at this point, I'm starting to think maybe that movie's not as bad as I think it is from everything else I've seen with Thor. So I want to see Thor Dark World again and live so we can comment on it, because I think maybe it's a better movie than I didn't. Don't you pay attention to him. I think maybe it's a better movie than people are giving it credit for at this point.
We'll see. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button, check out our reviews coming up for certain shows, and we'll be back next time. Peace, people.
Filing out the top of the
I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline.